I'm here with Stevie Moore.
And this is Gary Harmon.
Well, I'm Gary Harmon. He's not Gary. Anyway, we're here to talk about creationism and intelligent design and Ken Ham and Ken Hovind and a bunch of other people.
Museums that happen to be in our home state.
Oh, boy. What a travesty to anyone in Kentucky that has a brain.
Any child who might, for some reason, be sent to one of these theme parks.
It's all it is a theme park. I did some research, and apparently they do have some artifacts and some actual like dinosaur skeletons or dinosaur fossils and that kind of thing. But it's not a museum in the traditional sense. It's a monument to Ken Ham's just insane confirmation bias.
And for the benefit of for the listeners. We are talking about the Creation Museum, which exists. Where in Kentucky is this?
Petersburg, Kentucky.
Petersburg, Kentucky. It's about 2 hours from where Gary and I reside. We have not, nor probably ever will, go to that particular theme park. There's also a new one under construction that all taxpayers should be aware of, regardless of your religious affiliations. Because of the whole separation of state and what's the other one?
The church, I think.
Theme park churches, yes.
Theme park churches.
And it's called the Ark Park, in which they want to kind of simulate what Noah's Ark would be about. But we're focusing more on this discussion on the Creation Museum, which is, I don't know, would you say it's been a success, Gary? It's still floating?
That depends on your point of view, I guess. I mean, it's a success for those guys that wanted to get it going. But before we get any more into this, let's talk for a minute about what creationism is and what intelligent design is. Like, Stevie, how would you define creationism?
Well, you believe, as defined, I think, by most of the teachings, most of the private schools in our area, you're most likely going to be referring to young Earth creationism. Yeah. And the tenet of young Earth creationism, one, is a solid Christian, literal interpretation of the Bible, and in part, that requires you to believe and accept that the Earth is only 6,000 years old. 6,000 years only. That's as old as the Earth was.
Not just the Earth, but the universe itself.
The universe itself. Everything, nothing but God was older than that.
Yeah.
Ever.
Creationism is basically, it's basically claiming scientific progress for religion by saying that God did it after it's already been discovered, and saying, just as a way to justify your own beliefs and that kind of thing. And it's just, it's sort of a mental cop-out. It's sort of mentally, it's beneath me is what it is.
Well, aren't there trees that are over 6,000 years old?
Yes, there are trees.
I thought so. And shrubs and different mosses and things. Of course, there's the whole... Also, for the benefit of the listeners, this museum features dinosaurs and other prehistoric life living alongside early biblical man-woman. In dioramas, cavemen with dinosaurs. It's literally Fred Flintstonian, folks.
Animatronics.
Literally Fred Flintstonian animatronics. It's not a cartoon, but...
it's almost a cartoon.
It doesn't move, but they're mannequins with dinosaurs. And the dinosaurs, I must say, they're not going to be looking correct like what an actual dinosaur would have looked like.
So let's talk about this guy who runs this place. His name's Ken Ham. Okay, he's Australia. He's born in Australia somewhere. And if anybody out there is from Australia, I'm so sorry for you.
And if I have ever seen a con man, folks.
Yeah, so he looks like a goat. He really honestly looks like a goat.
Amish beard. Yeah.
Amish beard and everything like that. He's got beady little eyes. He's a Christian educator. And he's the president for Answers in Genesis, or AIG. Which operates the Creation Museum, which is what Stevie was talking about. Ken Ham is a young Earth creationism, like what Stevie was saying, and he claims that the Earth and everything in it is less than 6,000 years old. And in order to do this, you have to do some pretty intense mental gymnastics And AIG rejects archaeology, cosmology, geology, paleontology, evolutionary biology, and linguistics.
So we're talking about 98.5% of all the scientists in the world.
That's right.
Basically think these guys are full of shit.
Ken Ham was quoted as saying, "If you can't trust," well, I'll try. All right, here's my Australian accent. If you can't trust the Book of Genesis as literal history, then you can't trust the rest of the Bible, which, of course, is absolute nonsense and bollocks.
Ken Ham did have a few seconds of fame. He had a few minutes of fame when he had that debate with Bill Nye.
Yeah, an actual reputable, purveyor of science. He doesn't have any credentials.
It's unfortunate because this is science basically debating a fringe of a religion, which only the literal interpretation is the error here. Really, is what I see. a Christian who a Christian who believed in evolution and paleontology, because they do exist. And that didn't actually see the literally count the days back the way that a book written 3,000 years ago would have done.
Yeah.
And they could clearly see it's a metaphor. Maybe a day is a metaphor. Maybe a week to God is billions of years. Probably have nothing to argue with Ken Ham about. Well, they might, but still, not. This is their main thing to argue.
Ken Ham and the Answers in Genesis.
This is how these guys differ from mainstream Christianity.
They have a problem with intelligent design. If you didn't know, intelligent design is basically the idea that everything is designed because it looks like it was designed by a creator. And the thing is, they just leave it open to creator. They don't say specifically this is a Christian tenet. And one of the things that Ken Ham has a problem with is that it doesn't specifically say that it is of a Christian intelligence. Not just a higher intelligence, not just a supernatural being, but it has to be Christian and presumably white and male. The last two maybe not, but he has a problem with one of the things that they maybe have going for them. One of the tools in their tool chest of bullshit, and he has a problem with it.
Yeah. And intelligent design, if I'm not mistaken, was in part developed by a very infamous person by the name of Kent Hovind. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Now, we'll have some links in the show notes where you can kind of watch these clowns and make your own decisions.
So tell me about this guy. I don't know. I actually don't know that much about Kent Hovind. I know he spent some time in jail.
He did a lot of jail time for tax evasion. He's a tax denier. He's also a climate change denier. Probably a lot of denial going on there.
Yeah. That river in Egypt.
Yeah, he's a famous, Christian educator, as you would say. I think he made his money in textbook sales and tax evasion. And basically did some time for that. We'll put a link to him on the Ali G show. Interesting character, well-spoken fellow, but definitely kind of what I would feel like is a huckster. So two different fringe movements. They're not buddies here, but these are two examples of. I'm not sure if Mr. Hovind is a young Earth creationist as well. He might be. I know that the Answers in Genesis definitely. The main tenet of it is that the Earth is only 6,000 years old.
Yeah.
Which even Christian scientists would say is bullshit. I mean,
all
of Catholicism, the Pope told you from on high.
The Pope has its own observatory.
The Pope has accepted evolution as truth.
Yeah.
So,
and that's the Catholics.
These guys are definitely really behind.
Yeah. A good century or so.
And in the next reel, we're going to get into a little bit into more depth about why this is harmful and why this is probably not a good idea to foster this type of education of young people.
Yeah, childhood indoctrination.
As Gary mentioned earlier, these are basically aimed at children and parents or guardians that are not
educated
or on the lookout for something like this. So. Our advice is don't go to these places.
Unless you want to go there ironically.
Go to a real museum.
Yeah. Yeah, go to a real museum. There you go. That's a better use of your time.
And we'll be right back after this important message.
Join me Take a journey to a magical place. Are you a god? Were you there?
Answers in Exodus has just finished its newest attraction that will allow God's people to be able to till the earth and slaughter their own beasts, as the Lord commanded Kinham to do.
Hello, I'm Kinham. Welcome to a place where I'll farm and till the land. The animals you see around you the Lord hath provided, for this is the kingdom of Kinham, a kingdom of plenty. I think Kinham was just great. This is exactly what the Bible says. I think. I ain't never read it all that much, but that don't matter. This here's God's will. Ken Hamlin is exactly what our culture needs. More thoughtless bolstering of our own unexamined opinions. Hell, they got a petting zoo and snow cones! Children, come, 2 by 2, to learn from me the ways that the ancient people used in the time our Lord walked among us.
Marvel at the skeleton of Kinhamasaurus, the most goat-like of all dinosaurs.
This beast is the first to walk 2 by 2 among the others and to teach them about man, goats, and hams. Wow! Look at the teeth! What a beard! Are you a god? Were you there? The day of judgment is near. Are you ready?
Make sure you see our Mennonite Funhouse adjacent to Kinhamland after you've finished reaping what you sow. Individual experiences may vary. Consult your doctor if you have any experiences of doubt, questioning, confusion, and disillusionment, as these may be indications that you may want a refund. Children with peanut allergies are not allowed in the park. All sales final. Kinham is a registered trademark of Answers in Exodus.
Were you there? Do you want to be a god?
So there's some very important things that we need to discuss, and what these are reasons why that we're not fans of these folks, and you probably shouldn't be either, because you may be wondering, well, I don't see what's so bad about a bunch of loonies purveying their nonsense, but that is bad, and we're going to tell you why.
First of all, one of the things that they do that's bad is they have bad hiring practices. Everybody that works at the Creation Museum has to sign a declaration of faith.
Yes, they do, and they do have a few questions, I believe, on the when they were interviewed, and some things that they asked them about their faith as well, which is discrimination, as I see it. Or as anyone should see it, just the same as skin color or gender or anything else.
Yeah.
That's one reason they definitely shouldn't be getting any kind of tax incentives from the government.
One of the other problems that we have with them is that they're climate deniers, but they're also science deniers. As made evident, as we talked about before, these people are not down with geology, cosmology, evolutionary biology, anything with an ology behind it they don't like. And so that's clearly bad for the environment. And lately we've been starting to see some really bad things happening, like around the Arctic Circle, and if you're paying attention to that kind of thing. And as precursors to global warming and all these people that deny it, including people that I know, it's a real thing. And
there's a rich bounty that the Lord can provide.
Right.
To any believers. Last but not least, of all of these things, in childhood indoctrination is a clear danger. It's not just that these religions are, when it comes to something like this fundamental belief system about how the earth works, when you take such a literal interpretation of such an ancient, outdated book that was made before so many advances in modern science and understanding and philosophy into account, it's really dangerous worldview, don't you think, Gary?
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone who takes what a bunch of tribesmen said in the Bronze Age and considers that to be logically consistent with the space age and the current age that we're in right now, whatever you want to call that, that's insanity. And that's,
But I don't find it harmless. Let's say compare this to, say, the Amish or something like that. Just for argument's sake. But the Amish aren't really trying to build museums for their Amishness.
That's
They're trying to push it on other children now, are they?
They're trying to have their own lifestyle.
And they're not trying to make a buck off of it like these guys.
That's right.
These guys are sideshow hucksters, basically. Are they not?
I put them in that class. I'd say not exactly, because I believe that they believe what they say.
Yeah.
And so I don't believe that they're actually out.
They believe with their dollars, that's for sure.
Yeah.
What's the annual revenue?
19 million.
19 million, folks. 19 million.
Yeah. For
Not
a creation museum.
Yeah, that's not just chump change. And they're trying to build an ark. Now, if they build an ark, I guess I don't necessarily... I do have a problem with it, but I can't say, that they're not allowed to do it. But they should not be getting any tax breaks for it.
No, I don't think so. Either.
Absolutely not. Separation of church and state, church sideshows also count. So, that about wraps it up here for our discussion of Mr. Ham, Kent Hovind. We'll put a few links in the show notes, some funny ones that we found that we think you might like. Also a possible banana explanation.
And if you have any questions for us, whatever questions you think we can answer, just leave them in the comments and we'll whatever to them.
Yeah.
Probably just make fun of you for them, but whatever.